Okay, welcome to Emotional Freedom Techniques. It's Wellbeing Wednesday, and I forgot to put that in the title, didn't I? And so it's Emotional Freedom Techniques is the focus today. So Revvell's from Southern California, Vin from Adelaide, Australia, and I'm from Darwin, Northern Territory, Australia. So with the focus today on EFT,
thank you.
Just wanted to ask you, Revvell, perhaps, what do you know about EFT? Do you use it?
Yes, I'm a practitioner. I've been using it about 10 years now.
Ah, very good. 10 years, I've been, probably practicing about 12 years, I suppose. How did you come to learn about it?
Well, I've been a natural health practitioner for just about 30 years, and that's just one of the tools I use. I don't know how I got involved with it, but I know I really paid attention to Margaret Lynch and Carol Look, and I think it might have been the tapping solution was first got me involved in it when I saw the video and read the book. And then I started really exploring it.
Okay.
How about yourself?
Yeah, I came to it through seeking out a whole bunch of treatments for chronic fatigue syndrome, chronic illness. And it was at the end of a long line of treatments that I had tried. And I was connected with a lady from Orlando. Her name was Laurie Rivers. And she happened to say to me, you need to pay attention to the emotional work if you want to get better.
Yes.
And I'm thinking, yeah, what? You're kidding me.
Yeah.
I was a doer, it's all action-packed for me.
Yeah.
And, anything to do with emotional stuff, well, that didn't fit. This is the body I'm talking about. Forget all that other stuff. That's kind of whatever it is behind.
Right.
Anyway, and she said, and there's a great tool. It's called EFT. And so I had a look at it. I thought, well, I was so unwell. I was quite debilitated. And I thought, well, what have I got to lose? Just be open-minded enough at least to give it a go, see if emotional issues, residue has any impact on my health, if I can clear it away anyway. Not that I thought anything was related.
Right.
And so I did do some tapping because what was related was the depression associated with illness, because I wasn't my vibrant self anymore. I couldn't do anything. Yeah. So I gave it a try simply for the fatigue, the depression, the debilitation, and amazingly I just started to pick up. And I thought, this is crazy. A bit of tapping doesn't work. Absolutely. And so, now I've gone on to, probably it's my favorite tool in my psychology practice. And I went on to travel to America to learn more about the techniques from Gary Craig.
Okay.
Yeah, and Dr. Joseph McCullough, they had a training program called EFT for serious diseases right at the same time, a week apart from when I was doing a presentation in Edmonton in Canada. And I thought, well, this is meant to be. I'll just hop into Chicago the week before and then go on to Edmonton. And, well, it did change my life, really. And I have a totally different view of how the emotional impacts on the physical, and that's probably my soapbox message now is holistic healing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, for me, my feeling about quote unquote holistic means it's the whole person. It's not just not just the mental and emotional, but there's also the physical, taking care of yourself through food as well as movement. You can't, just because it's natural, it's not necessarily holistic. I've had people who sell essential oils, and they say, well, it's holistic. I said, it's not really, because you're not doing anything. You're giving them something, and it's like, to me, it's an allopathic way of trying to heal without doing everything it takes, which includes food, it includes movement, includes rest, includes water, and it includes dealing with the mental and emotional.
So, Revvell, you work as a naturopath, is that?
No, I'm a natural health practitioner.
Natural health practitioner.
Right.
Okay.
And so I'm a physical trainer, but I also assist people with food programs. A lot of times they hire me to do physical movement to lose weight. And I said, eliminating excess weight, first of all, a lot of it's emotional, as you know, and a lot of it is food. It's more like 80% food, 20% movement. I could have people eliminate excess weight without ever moving. I don't recommend it, but it's possible through the mental, emotional, and a good food program. Because we become sick a lot of times because of our emotional issues, as you know. I did the same thing with asthma. You think it's all physical because you can't breathe, and then you find out that you've kind of created it yourself. Yes.
And I love how that we become aware in the unfolding of events if we're open-minded enough to view it in that way. Obviously, I think messages were being delivered to me thick and fast. I'd had a series of horror events and kind of just viewed them as a single event each time. It's got nothing to do. My brother wrote me a beautiful letter once and said, Marg, do you think the universe is trying to tell you something? Because I'd had a head-on car crash in the middle of the bush. Only 2 people ever travel on this dirt track. Me and, our family and this other family whose station we would have to drive through to get to work on the town on the other side of the property. And so in the middle of the bush, we go around a corner and a head-on car crash. Absolutely unbelievable. So my brother says, do you think the universe is trying to tell you something? And I'm like, oh, that's cool. An idiot. It was very lovely that he was concerned and took the time to write me the letter. And it was a beautiful letter. But I really didn't see the relevance.
It is difficult to see the connection with things, huh?
Yeah, when you're not in the space.
Revvell, if you could elaborate on something you mentioned just before for the audience. This is a thing that often people talk about or get confused is with alternative health. You said you're not a naturopath, you're a natural practitioner. Is that what you used?
Mm-hmm. I'm a natural health practitioner and educator.
Could you explain to us what is the difference between a natural health practitioner and a naturopath?
A naturopath gets a license through, they have to go through a certain training. I went through a different training.
And so what are naturopaths trained in?
I have no clue.
So,
for a long time, and I don't even know if it is, but naturopaths were illegal in California for a long time, but I'm hearing that there are some people here calling themselves naturopaths, but I don't know if they are legally naturopaths or not. So I've never looked into that. So I can't answer your question. I don't want to make something up.
That's okay. I was curious.
Yeah, they have a certain training that they have to go through. For me, I chose my trainings. I chose sort of like what Margaret was saying about, looking at a variety of things. And so I started as a brain just went polarity therapist. So I started with a polarity therapy, and then I went into I've traditional Chinese medicine. I've trained in Ayurveda. I've trained in quite a few, and I've brought them down into things that I find really work well and easily. It doesn't need to be convoluted, you know, and like some people will take all these things and they will mix them up and everything. And I haven't found like Ayurveda really works that well with Westerners. I haven't found that traditional Chinese medicine works that well with Westerners, although tapping is part of, you know, traditional Chinese medicine because it's basically acupressure or acupuncture without the needles, it's been called, you know, using the meridians. And so I teach Tai Chi, I teach also kettlebells. I go both ways, you know, because people need the weight-bearing exercises. So I teach kettlebells and club swinging with what do you call them, iron clubs. But I also teach hula hooping. So, you know, a variety of things so that people become well-rounded. My focus is on self-mastery and helping women get into life and not just through it. You know, at the end of the day, you don't want to say, "Oh, I got through that." Yeah. You want to say, "I involved myself in my life." And so it's been 30 years. I've been doing a lot of studying and a lot of practice, and had a lot of teachers, and this is where I am now.
When I first heard of tapping, it was actually Margaret that introduced me to EFT and tapping. But the first thought I had was that this is very much like shiatsu, the Japanese, well, it basically is acupressure, where they hold the pressure points rather than stick a needle in. That you just push down with your fingertips and apply pressure for a certain amount of time. And to me, tapping seems very much like that. Instead of holding, you're basically just tapping these points. So, I'm curious how the two relate, if they do, because, you know, EFT uses meridians, but there are a whole bunch of different meridian systems. There's Indian meridians, there's Chinese meridians, and then I guess the Japanese have their own system. I'm not sure if they strictly follow the Chinese meridians or not. But I wondered if EFT has its own variation of the meridian, seeing as there are so many different meridian philosophies.
Well, EFT is a derivative of toEFT, thought field therapy. It was actually Dr. Roger Callahan, that he was a psychiatrist in America, and he accidentally discovered that tapping on particular points helped to clear people's fears, and one lady in particular that's written up in a book called the Tapping Healer Within or something like that. And Mary had this phobia of water, and so Dr. Roger Callahan was investigating kinesiology as just an interest, and he found out that, you know, perhaps if you tap this point, and I don't know if I've got the point right, but that was the fear point that related in kinesiology, that particular point related to fear. And so when Mary came for her next appointment, he had her tap here and her water phobia disappeared. So that was, you know, he called it an accidental discovery, and that case study was written up and written into a book. And it was the basis because Gary Craig was a student of Dr. Roger Callahan's, and he learnt about TFT, thought field therapy, and then he went on to put all of these different points that pertain to a particular condition, emotional condition in the body. So, for example, that one's fear, and I'm not getting these right, by the way, and this one's anger, and this one's cravings, whatever it is. So there are particular points in kinesiology that are identified for a particular emotion or an emotional drive. And so with thought field therapy, you actually had to know what point to tap on for your particular issue. And what Gary Craig did with that was he bundled up all these points and put them into the one sequence to say that, well, we've got all these meridian points and from the basis of kinesiology. So I believe that's Chinese base when you're talking about what country's meridians, what would be the basis of EFT. And but he never delved into that really himself from studying in China or anything, studying Chinese medicine. He just went from being a student of Roger Callahan's, and then with a kinesiologist would do some research on investigating, you know, if you combine all of these techniques, or all of these points together into one technique, you have the whole lot together. And when I was in Chicago, he actually had all of the technology. The kinesiologist was there. I can't think of it. Goodhart was his name. And he had the electrodes running and showing that when you tapped on one particular point, the fear level of a person went down. So there was some science involved as well.
But any relationship to the Chinese meridians then is coincidental, although I use that term loosely, because it actually validifies, is that the word? Validates. You know, the system, doesn't it? That these were not simply copying the Chinese meridians; they were independently arrived at, but then confirmed by the Chinese meridians.
And that was what the very thing that was demonstrated when I was in Chicago, because Gary Craig, like everyone in attendance knew the technique pretty well, and there were people from all walks of life and medical people, which was wonderful, being open-minded. But then there was a lady, Dr. Susan Lee Smith, and she had worked as a Western nurse in China for 10 years or so. And she presented from the Chinese perspective and said, I heard of this guy in America coming up with this technique, and you know what? I thought he's a fraud. He's taking somebody's ideas, taking the Chinese and making it his own technique. And she said, and then we met up for coffee or whatever, and I heard his story, and she said, this technique, Gary has arrived at it through a totally different system without delving into the origins of the Chinese healing. But she had worked in China, and she said, this is so similar that he must have copied it. Mm-hmm. And so there we had both people presenting the same technique, one from a Western perspective of origin and research, and one from the Eastern, having worked there. And her husband just happened to be, he's American, but he was a grandmaster in China. That's why she went there. He studied and started to practice there. So that was quite enlightening, that there is something in these particular meridian points that brings healing benefit to people. It just has them feel better. There's a question here from Tina. Love to see you do hula hooping, by the way. I love that. I used to do it as a kid too. I love it. I don't know if I could do it anymore either. So what are your ideas on uterine fibroids in reference to mental health conflicts and spiritual stagnation? Great question, Tina. Revvell, do you want to comment on that one?
No, I don't. I don't know enough about Tina to really get involved, and find out what's really going on. So there's a lot of things that could be causing that, and without knowing some of her background.
Yeah.
I'm going to let you handle that.
Well, I think you handled it very well.
Yeah, I was going to say, to just ask a question about a symptom or something. There's so many things involved in the emotions and what's happened in the past and where you've come from and et cetera, and where your emotions currently are, that to just say, this or this or this, to me that I don't feel right just doing that.
Yeah.
How about you?
Yeah, I'm prepared to have a go at it though.
Okay.
And I totally respect where you're coming from, and this is no diagnosis or no treatment. Hey, Suzie.
Suzie.
Hi, Margaret. Hi, Vin. I just thought I'll just pop in before I have lunch today and say hi.
Oh, nice to have you join. So I'm just going to.
I do a lot of this, so
yeah,
I use it.
Good on you. Fantastic. I just wanted to respond to Tina, and I'm not sure what's going to come out of my mouth just yet. Sometimes the thinking is in the word formulation as I start talking. So my ideas on uterine fibroids in reference to mental conflicts and spiritual stagnation. Well, firstly, I would say, Tina, that you are on the ball. You are at least prepared to notice and to be aware that there is perhaps some mental conflict and spiritual stagnation. And the very fact that you have asked that question suggests to me that you have some aspects in your life that you are aware of mental conflicts and spiritual stagnation. And so I'd say you're absolutely spot on. And often I often say to clients, what do you think's going on? And whatever they say, I'm going, okay, they're usually pretty on the ball. Once we ask ourselves the question and have to answer it for ourselves, so one of the questions I think is a good one is, if you had to put any of your experiences as part of an explanation for this condition, what would it be? And that has people reflect, and they can begin to actually come up with some suggestions. And whatever suggestions they come up with is worth taking notice of. So I would say, good on you. You are open-minded. I believe that because you've asked the question and you're suggesting some mental conflicts and spiritual stagnation, that might be a very good starting point for you to address the condition that's going on with you. I can't say any of the healing aspects, and I think I combine with Revvell in her response there that, it's hard to know of any prognosis or progression, but I think once we're open to opening up that realm of our lives that perhaps contains a foundation or a strong contribution to our condition, we are well on the pathway towards becoming, to attracting some healing.
Well, just the fact that she's here.
Yeah.
When you when you're ready, the teacher appears.
Yeah. So true, Revvell.
And so coming into something that people know so little about, and are curious about, that for many people can be just an opening, just an idea of wow,
Yeah.
I mean, when you tell your story, and my story was with asthma, and with I also went through depression from the time I was 13 to my mid-40s. And I was gang raped when I was 19, so I had a lot of emotional issues, and one including, abandonment from my father dying we've had a lot of different things, and for so long I made myself a victim. And then I started finding out that A lot of it was what I said to myself. A lot of it was allowing myself to be a victim for whatever reasons, the benefits you get from being a victim.
Yeah.
And when I realized I wanted to empower myself, then I started learning various techniques and ways to heal myself and found teachers to help me along the way. I was in quote unquote therapy with a teacher for 16 years. And I still constantly delve into things, find out, and keep looking for more healing modalities so I can help myself and others as we get along.
Yeah. Wow. You've had some journey then, Revvell. You've got some experience to draw from.
I do. I do. Been a few. But I look back at how I allowed myself to, self-speak. What we say to ourselves is so important.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the things, when people, I don't even know, like it would come up in conversation about the gang rape, or I would bring it up so I could get some attention, or I could get some sympathy, or whatever the heck it was I wanted. And I would just start crying so nobody would, blame me. Because in those days, this was a long time ago, it was 40 years ago plus. And it's like, in those days when it happened, they would blame the victim or the person who had gotten raped. You must have, you did.
Yeah.
So I take responsibility for being where I was, but I'm not going to take responsibility for what they did. If that makes
sense. Yeah. And it's no wonder that so many people who have experienced.
I froze on one screen.
You're frozen? Yeah, people who have experienced sexual abuse, it's no wonder that they have felt the victim, because I think, as you said, Revvell, for many, many years, fortunately, I think it's changing. I don't know
Slowly.
that it's completely changed.
No. Some cultures.
Sorry?
Look at India. Only in some cultures. Look at India, for example.
Yeah. I'm talking about our culture. Yeah, most definitely. But it was like we'd hear it in the courts all the time and in conversation that the person, the girl was dressed inappropriately and that's why it happened, or
right,
shouldn't have been in the bar unaccompanied. So there were all these allowances made for it happening, which, no wonder that has the girl feel responsible and I guess
guilty. Victim and guilty, And it's interesting because even though people are trying not to do that nowadays, they still do it.
Would it be fair to say that people tend to internalize these things when they are a victim of some kind of abuse like this, that they will especially in the instances you're talking about where you will be blamed for it, so you might tend to not express it and then to internalize it, and then as a result physically get ill health as a result?
No doubt. No doubt.
So that's what we're talking about, isn't it? Emotional freedom.
Yes.
Yeah,
freeing up those emotions.
And I think that obviously our bodies, we as a person, are in our experiences. we turn up. We just happen to be the centralmost figure in our own experiences.
Yeah.
And so I think it's a little bit short-sighted to think that there is no impact, whether we feel there is or not. Oh, no, I've forgotten all about that. That happened when I was a child. No. I don't even think about whether it's sexual abuse, whether it's anything. No, I don't even think about it anymore. I think it's a little bit short-sighted to think that, and we know how poor our memories are.
I was just going to say it may be not even that simple, because the person may have actually wiped it out of their mind, out of their memory, through just in a way of personally dealing with it. They've just removed it from their memory as a coping mechanism.
Yes.
Without intentionally doing so or willfully doing so. It's just a result of the human trying to sort of cope. And so they can't, that would mean that it's even more difficult because they don't remember anything that they have to deal with. It's not it's not a matter of denying it. It's just that they don't even know that it even exists.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that makes it, that's why practitioners are important, because with the right questions or the right probing, practitioners can bring it out and assist people. And I think, and I don't know if you find this, Margaret, sometimes working with somebody, they become afraid of revealing things when it starts to come up, because the guilt starts and you have to deal with the guilt and all the other emotions, the anger that might come up, the fear and everything else. I mean, I've had clients come and they say, I don't want to cry today. And why do you think you're going to cry? And they end up laughing through the whole session, and you never know what's going to come up. And, like you're saying, then, yeah, once it's blocked, but the subconscious knows.
Yeah.
The subconscious knows
subconscious.
it's there. There's no question. It never goes away. The subconscious knows it's there, and the subconscious is made to protect us. But doing that, it can kill us at the same time. With me creating the asthma and the depression, Margaret with the depression and the what was it, fibro you said?
Yeah, fibromyalgia. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the subconscious made this stuff.
Yeah.
To supposedly protect us, but it's killing us.
Yeah.
It's the weirdest cycle. You look at it and you go, this is nuts. I mean, it's not sanity.
Yeah.
Well, it's short term, isn't it? It's a short term coping mechanism that long term creates.
And sometimes, isn't it, I don't know, my experience is for the serious thing that I had happen with, it was a wake-up call, a real wake-up call to really look at my life and what I was doing. And I think sometimes, we hold a lot of stuff in our body, or if we really listen to our bodies as well as our subconscious, healing comes in amazing ways, is my experience. I mean, and it's a lot of it, I believe, for me, as well as the emotional side is also it's our belief system, and it's what we think. Our thoughts are what we are as well.
Yeah.
What's your story, Suzie, if I may ask?
I've had 2 near-death experiences. One when I was 16, when I was unconscious for a week, and I wasn't expected to be normal again, and I came out and I was normal. And 4 years ago, I had a total kidney failure, like the specialist said, no kidney function, through an autoimmune disease. And literally, out of the blue, I was told I had 25% chance of recovery. And my alternatives were death, kidney transplant, or on dialysis. And I'm sitting here, just somebody shared a video I'd shared when they said, I wouldn't be able to have all this function and things like that. And 2 years ago, I was holding up my results in a video saying, this is what you can do. And when I was told that, I said to the specialist who was standing over me at Tweed Hospital, well, I'm going to meditate, use the law of attraction, and I'm going home. And, and I had relapses, and I've had a lot of results from, I have crushed fractures in my back and things that were a result of over the drugs that, the drugs that saved my life gave me other side effects. But through lots of alternatives, and interestingly enough, through a lot of the time I used Ho'oponopono with EFT. That's my biggest thing of using that, of using EFT, is in that whole forgiveness process as well.
Oh, forgiveness is so important. And I just found combining the EFT with the,
you know, the Hawaiian, I'm sorry, please forgive me, I love you, thank you, is a really powerful way. And for me now, I use it if I can't go to sleep at night, if something, or I wake up in the middle of the night and something, I use that. And I use it to shift out of stuckness and a variety of things. But
Excellent.
I find EFT was part of my healing, and I made videos and things about it as well.
Yeah.
But I'm not a professionally trained EFT person.
Well, I think, you know, that experience counts for a hell of a lot, Suzie.
Mm-hmm.
I think so. Well, I mean, I think so, and I think, you know, the tools and things that I've used, because that's what I'm writing about at the moment in my book. The tools that I've used can help so many other people, and it gives people hope when you're told that, you know, because of your age and whatever else, you know, and you don't know whether you're going to have a relapse, so you have to stay on all these tablets. And I made a choice to take myself off all my drugs, and I've had no repercussions except with my bones. But I'm regrowing those now, so I'm hoping all that will.
I don't know that any formal training could give you more than what you've already given yourself through your own experience.
No, that's right. And I've met amazing people. I've met some really way out healers, and I use what I call quantum healing, what the guy who developed it now calls it a complete family healing system. But yeah, I mean, I just find it's amazing what we can do with our bodies and with our belief system. And, you know, some of the things that I use, I've been able to get some of because the drugs that we have in our system stay there for takes so many years to get the dosages that I've had in my system out. And I've used some things, and you can see it every now and again, I break out in rashes, and I think, what is that all about? And then if I listen to my body, I got the answer, Suzie. Well, that's a drug still coming out. So I just think listening to our body is, mine is, I think, as Margaret knows, I'm called the Heart Whisperer, and mine is very much about listening to the whispers of our heart. And through that, when we make that shift from there, we can heal our lives, heal our businesses, heal our relationships, whatever else.
Yeah. I love your title, the Heart Whisperer. I think it's beautiful.
Well, it was given to me basically by my readers and things, because I started as part of my healing process. For those of you who don't know, I'm also an artist. I started painting a heart a day as part of my healing. And at the moment I'm doing a 365-day daily heart whisper. And it was that and through my blog, and people just kept saying, oh, Suzie, you're the heart whisperer. So I was going to throw it away a couple of weeks ago, but I've sort of brought it back and thought, that's what I am. And I think, was it Vin or it was somebody else when I came home the other day, and they said, oh, the Heart Whisperer is here. And I thought, oh, that's wonderful. That was on somebody else's song. And I love this media.
Yeah. It's great, isn't it?
I think it might have been me because, you know.
Yes, I think it was.
If you've seen my logo, I actually have a heartbeat as part of my logo in the, ECG heart monitor.
Right. Yeah, well, I suppose it's it. I mean, it's when, my message is about love, which is what I got in a dialysis chair when I asked what this was all about. And after years of doing personal development, it was amazing to find that. But it's so much attached to the heart. I fractured my arm and it was in line with my heart. So I realised I had a lot of work to do with it. So, yeah. Wow. And I love your hand. I love intuitive. I think that's wonderful, Vin.
It's great, isn't it?
Thank you.
I just want to go back to a couple of questions that have been asked.
Yeah, there's
Sorry.
So,
I'll just go. The phone's ringing.
okay.
I was going to say the sounds. I was wondering where that sound was coming from.
I didn't know who was attending to it.
There was actually a sound coming out of your mic, Revvell, as your mic was sort of brushing against your hair. It was making a lot of noise.
I didn't pick it up myself. So going back to OC BizChick's question, can EFT be used as a supplement like meditation to overall improve all areas of mind, body, spirit without knowing what to pinpoint? Well, my answer to that is absolutely, most definitely. We don't always have to know what we're tapping for or what we're working on. And it could be like just the generic term of stress, because we all get a touch of that every day or every couple of days. Even just the time pressures, we can feel stressed, and let alone without other things going on in our lives, and finances, whatever's going on, relationships. And we might not actually single out something to work on, but it might be just that whole stress build-up, which has me feeling, people will identify with what their particular stress symptoms are, and they're individual. So it's when you feel like that, or even if you don't feel like that, if you just wanted to get into a more relaxed state, it's often good to use before meditation, because it puts you in a relaxed state in order to be able to meditate even better, to have that stillness of mind. So, yeah, the answer to that one is definitely. And you'd agree with that, Revvell?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Could I just butt in a minute? There was it's just that some information for the people asking questions. It's really easy to filter the questions. Now we have a question filter, and so that we can see your questions. If you preface it with /Q, or is it /question? I can't remember. I keep forgetting.
/Q.
It's slash. Some of them are the first letter. Some of them are just the whole word. So it's /Q, and you can filter them. I just wanted to point your attention to a question there about certification.
Yeah. Can I pick up on the one before that, though, from Barakat? Do you think that diagnosing someone with a mental illness could cause them more problems than non-diagnosis, e.g. Asperger's or ADHD? I work from a perspective that I'm not particularly fond of labels. But I do know that some people do feel that they are better off in identifying that now I understand better what's going on with me when there is a label. The problem with labels is, I think, and I was having this conversation just the other day, person to person, not blabbing, about the concept in AA groups where they say people are recovering alcoholics or recovering addicts.
Mm-hmm.
And my personal viewpoint, and I know that the AA work is just astounding. People do wonderful things in that group and have amazing progression in their lives. My personal view is that tag recovering always keeps people in the present tense, that they never actually get to move beyond it, because I'm always recovering. I'm a recovering.
Yes.
Yeah. What are your thoughts there? You'd agree?
It's like I remember. Sorry, Jason. You remember Jason, Perception Boss? He says we are human beings. In other words, we are constantly in flux. We're constantly sort of being a human. It's not like a completed project that you sort of become a human and then that's it. It's we're constantly working at it. And I think to have that approach to life that that sort of can be applied to all aspects of our life, that change is constant, and that we're it's like a diet as well. People think of a diet, oh, just go on a diet and I'll lose weight. Well, diet is actually something that's ongoing every day. It's it's a way of being. It's not something that you just turn on and that's the end of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. What you eat is your diet.
Yes. Yeah.
We have changed it to mean to lose weight, but I mean, how do you describe it? What I eat is my diet. That is my diet. I used to have a swap meet business, and I used to sell bird feed. And I said, well, that's a parakeet's diet. Well, I don't want her to lose weight. And I'm like, all it means is food.
Yeah, it's funny, isn't it? The way we change
it's your
terminology of words. So recovering. I thought you were going to focus on the term alcoholic as a label.
No, but because this person I had the discussion with, it's based on the same principle as AA, but it's Overeaters Anonymous. And so this particular problem was this person was a recovering overeater and has been for, 10 years. I said, will there ever come a point in time where you're not a recovering overeater? And, she actually hadn't considered that point. And I said, I think that, that the 12 Steps program is awesome work for people. They move forward. So many people get their lives back on track because of it. I just think that it misses having the exit door. When am I allowed to go out the door now and put that behind me? Because for as long as I wear the tag, recovering alcoholic or recovering overeater, I'm owning it. It's in the present tense. I identify with it. And that's the same with the other label, I think. However, there can be benefits, as I said before, from people identifying or feeling that they've got some name for their condition. Otherwise, they think that they're crazy or they're imagining it or whatever. To me, the experience is what counts primarily, rather than a label. And if I very reluctantly will give a label. If at any way I use a term, I might say there are some symptoms of depression. There are some symptoms of anxiety. There are some symptoms of ADHD. But to me, that does not define the person. The person's much more than a label.
Yeah, I have to constantly sort of be mindful of this because I don't like labels either, and I would dismiss them at a drop of a hat. But I'm open to the concept that there are actual benefits to having labels. But when someone's diagnosed as ADHD or dyslexic or anything, I guess, I find that often the person who's been labelled or diagnosed will then think, what a relief, I've got an excuse. Now I know why I can't do this or I can't do that. And it's like now it's an opportunity or an excuse for them to rest on their laurels or whatever and go, I don't have to work on this. I've got an excuse now. I'm just whatever label. So that's why I'm the way I am. You just have to accept who I am now and I don't have to change.
Yeah.
Well, when you see advertisements like, who was it, Adam, what's his name? From The Voice, it's your ADHD, own it. Seriously? I tell people, I said, don't own whatever these symptoms are. Don't own a disease.
And the other problem we have with the labels is that most labels are linked in with medication. So it opens the door to medicating. And I don't know that that's helpful in having people be able to recover in holistic ways. But, it becomes a reliance not only on the condition, as you said, Ven, but then a reliance on the medication. That's me, I'm wound up in all of this because even the doctor supports it. And look,
Yes.
I'm never the same if I don't have these pills. So that's my proof.
Yeah.
Right. And I'll be on these for the rest of my life.
Yeah. Well, guess what? If you think that.
Yeah, you will be.
Exactly. You know, and the problem too with medication is they give you on something, they get you on something, and then that thing is causing a problem, so they give you something else to change. I mean, I've seen women my age and younger who are on 10, 12, 15 different medications.
Mm-hmm.
And they make their excuses, and you know, they keep going to doctors. I teach Tai Chi at the senior center and mindful movement, and they said, you know, I can't come next week because I'm going to the doctor. And I said, what are we doing now? You know, I mean, there are ways to heal. I don't care what you're on. You can heal if you do the right things. Yet they don't want to. It's easier to just pop a pill. I've had so many people tell me that. Why don't I just pop a pill? I mean, how easy it is to do some tapping.
Yes, I know. And if it's, you know, sometimes it is necessary for people to have medication. You know, there are some times where the condition is just too painful or for whatever reason.
Yes. Sure.
My view is that the medication does not replace doing the emotional or psychological work. You actually say it's the nice Band-Aid, it's the nice covering that has you feel it manages the condition, but the work in digging out the boil underneath, in getting the guts out, still needs to be done.
Exactly.
Otherwise, you're just moving forward blindly and just keep topping over a new nice dressing over the top of the wound.
Yeah.
So I think
that's a good way to put it.
Back to that question, holistic life. Sorry, about certification. Is there a way to be EFT certified? There are many people who, and many groups that do offer certification. I'm one of them. My business is Connect Counselling Services in Australia, and I run training workshops here in Darwin at the top end of Down Under. And next year I'm looking to do them online because I want to open it up to more people. So my EFT trainings will be online next year. But there are people all around the world now that do trainings like, I'm not sure where you're from, Holistic Life, but if you do a Google search and Google EFT training, there's ACEP, the Association of Comprehensive Energy Practitioners, maybe, or psychology, I'm not sure. ACEP has training. I'm international member number 1 of the ACEP. And so that's an American-based organisation. They're one of the first groups to form an organisation simply around energy psychology and energy work, which was wonderful because it kind of put it out there. It now had a place in the world. But there are other groups now, and Revvell, you mentioned Nick Ortner before, the tapping solution. I think they.
I don't.
Nick,
do they do? I don't think they do certifications, do they?
Okay. There's online.
I don't know.
That's called the tapping solution. There's other. Just Google it. In Boston. Okay. Yeah.
Boston.
There you go. The best I can suggest is to Google it, and there'll probably be something near where you are, or even Carol Look runs training.
Carol Look
is her expertise is using EFT for weight loss, or I shouldn't say weight loss at all. It's for eating disorders, eating problems. And she's also moved into the area of sight and vision, which is kind of apt with her name, Carol Look.
Carol Look, yeah. I got her book. I got her
name. And she's written a book now on vision and using EFT to regain your sight and get rid of the glass.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
Another thing too is EFTuniverse.com.
That's one I was trying to think of. Yes. Yeah.
And there's another one, EFT-alive.com. And that, I think they're in Massachusetts.
AMT Meridian Techniques. And I'm not sure what Association for Meridian Techniques is another one. So there are plenty around that you can tap into, pardon the pun.
Tap into, yes. Yeah.
So any more questions? Because we've run a little bit over time because we had a bit of a glitch to start with and we were late starting. You're very welcome and so pleased that you turned up, and I hope that you all gained something from this session on learning a little bit about EFT. If you want to know more, please contact myself, or Revvell is an EFT practitioner. If you want to put your details in, Revvell, my website is margaretlambert.com. And
let's see if I can get there.
I do periscopes on EFT. I focus on a particular aspect of EFT each Tuesday on Periscope. It's about an hour later than right now that we commence on a Tuesday, whatever the time that is for you, wherever you are. Love to have you join. And Wellbeing Wednesday is an ongoing lab. It's standard at this time, so love to have you join in next week. We'll be talking about a different topic, and I'm thinking that next week I might like to talk about meditation practices. What are you using? What do you find useful? Because some people align with some particular meditation practice, and some people just shy right away from meditation because I can't sit still and my brain can't silence, and so I'm no good at meditating, and so that's the end of the story. But there are other things. and by the way, EFT is one of them.
There you go.
Can I throw in a couple of comments? I've posted a link to your live streaming page, so if anyone has missed any of the shows this week, they can catch up there. They can go and watch them. They can also see a schedule of what's happening every week there. And finally, I've posted a little graphic there. If you click on it, you can expand it and view it in larger format. And that is for the upcoming show on Friday, which is about karma.
Yeah.
Spiritual conversations.
I've put it up.
I've
put it up on my Facebook page. What do you think of karma? I've had zero response.
Oh, wow.
Oh,
not everyone's cup of tea, obviously, and who knows? I'm open to whatever comes in spiritual conversations on Friday. Love to have you join in, and with that, on that note, we'll sign off for today. And thanks so much, Revvell, for popping in. And Finn, of course, thanks to you.
Well, thank you so much for having me on. I appreciate it.
Well, I'll go look at EFTology. It's a great name, EFTology.
Thank you.
It's great.
All righty.
Can I just add one more thing? Holistic Life 123 is someone that's stuck with us the entire show. I just wanted to give her a shout out. That's Nella Bella is her name. And her profile says, I'm motivated and ambitious. I'm an aspiring herbalist and intuitive consultant, a misunderstood empath, student of life. I'm here to learn. So I encourage all of us to follow her.
Yes, I'm following you now, Mella.
And the other person was, and the other person was Porter.
Right.
So you might want to follow him as well.
Will do.
Sorry. And of course, there's us. I'm Vin Brown. I'm from Vintuitive. I run a web development company and social media promotion. And maybe Revvell can tell us what she does.
Natural health practitioner and educator, holistic all the way, mental, emotional, physical.
Yeah. And
I usually work with women 40 and over to help them get into life, not just through it.
Yeah, great need in that area. So I congratulate you on doing that. And I'm Margaret, and I work as a psychologist, an author and speaker. and EFT practitioner. So that's it for now, and love to have you join us at the next Vlad. Catch you then. Bye.